Hello, my name is Isabel Quesada, and today we will be speaking about decision making and ethics as it relates to organizational behavior. And our team members for this PowerPoint are myself, Megan Burr, Michael Fleming, Rocio Gordillo, and Valerie Lopez. Organizational behavior is defined as a field of study focused on understanding, explaining, and improving attitudes of individuals and groups in organizations. Our goal was to find out how decision-making and ethics related to organizational behavior. Moreover, we accomplished this by having each team member interview two individuals. The results and our findings were very interesting to see and will be explained in the following slides as follows. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just beyond the psychological needs are those of safety, which includes employment and morality, among others. Clearly, humans find employment to be a very pressing need. It's no wonder then that people have very strong opinions when it comes to their organizations and more strong opinions on the topic of ethics. Decision making and ethics as it relates to organizational behavior is an important topic due to the broad shadow it casts in a working environment. In running and managing a business, the decisions made and the ethical ramifications are largely able to determine the long-term success or failure of a company. Policies have been set forth for businesses to operate in an efficient and ethical manner to contribute to the longevity of a company. Some policies that have been implemented have been fraternization in the workplace, as well as social media relationships and behaviors in and out of the workplace, all of which have been decisions made by many businesses to minimize losses and efficiency of the business. Ethics is a roadmap to how an organization should act and how individuals should behave. Furthermore, it ensures company success because it places rules and structure into an organization. The following two slides will be presented by Megan Burke.
Hi, this is Megan. So the 6 questions that we asked as it relates to ethical decisions in the workplace that could affect the productivity and efficiency of the employees. These 6 questions were drafted to solicit insightful answers from a mixed crowd of both supervisors and staffed employees from a wide range of organizations to cast the bigger range of answers. Workplace diversity includes many factors of both surface level and deep level diversity among people working for an organization. Studies support that more diverse workplaces lead to more successful organizations. We chose the first question, which is, do you think the use of technologies such as social media is effective or harmful for candidates for future or current jobs, i.e. LinkedIn profiles, Facebook, YouTube, etc.? We chose this first question because we felt that social media is still a relatively new technology impacting hiring and job retention, and we were interested to learn how people's experiences with this technology has impacted the hiring process, or if it has caused problems with an existing position. The question would give us insight to decision-making by hiring managers. The second question is, how do you handle a social media comment about the workplace when off-duty? We chose the second question to learn different management approaches to decision-making regarding questionable behavior by employees with regard to a relatively new world of social media. This question also gave some insight to organizational behavior between managers and staff. The third question, do you think it is appropriate for employees to be friends with each other on social media? With the third question, we again wanted to learn how managers were handling decisions related to social media in their company, as well as how social media relations outside of work affected the organizational behavior between employees. The fourth question that we chose is, do you think the crossover roles in a small business, i.e. owner is also a manager, can cause a conflict of interest? With the fourth question, we shifted our focus to potential conflicts of interest to see how the manager's perspectives differed from employees as to organizational behavior. For the fifth question, we asked, how do you think companies should handle employee relations to avoid conflicts of interest? And for this question, we expanded on potential conflicts of interest to learn how different organizations handled this type of organizational behavior. And for the last question, we asked, how do you think your organization's code of conduct influences ethical decision making? And this question is directed more at non-management employees to learn if they felt their company's code of conduct had any impact on the culture of their company. So in the next slide, you'll see a table of our data that we received. The table above represents the condensed short answers of the questions asked of the interviewees. Some points to note in the descriptions of the jobs held by everyone. We brought in the expertise of many different job fields to include law enforcement, small business owners, and military members. The goal was to determine if manager and employees are similar across the board in terms of answers given to assess the validity of employee perceptions versus managers and vice versa. By including the short answers to our interview questions, we were able to compile the results in a way that allowed us to visually determine trends. For example, we can visually see that managers do not see a conflict of interest in having crossover roles, such as owners also being managers. However, employees were more likely to see that as a potential conflict. We can also see that everyone is divided over whether social media is beneficial or harmful to employment. A very consistent theme throughout is that everyone wants clearly defined roles, policies, and open and clear communication. They also want management to lead by example. And Michael will take over from here.
For our managers and employee percentages, we had a sample size of 15 people, 2 interviewees per student, as well as themselves. This yielded an almost equal group size of 6 managers interviewed, as well as 9 employees interviewed. The goal was to get as close to a 1-to-1 ratio as possible to give equal representation to the questions to be answered in order to remove any bias from any answered questions. So with our first question, is the use of social media beneficial or harmful for candidates of future or current jobs? We were really divided on this, on whether social media was beneficial or harmful to employees. Most people felt that both there were pros and cons with the use of social media. Unfortunately, we did not collect enough data on the age of our interviewees, so we were unable to determine if there was a generational tie to the answers we received. Next is going to be Rocio giving our analysis of data.
Okay. Analysis of data, common trends. Most feel it is acceptable for employees to be friends on social media. Most want management to lead by example. Most see both pros and cons to social media. The outliers. One person responded no to allowing employees to be friends on social media. One person responded termination for avoiding conflicts of interest in employee relations. Some patterns seen from our questions were that most interviewees found it acceptable to add team members to include coworkers as friends on social media outlets. One other pattern from the interview was that everyone agreed the supervisors should set the rules and regulations by example for their subordinates to emulate. Most people agreed that technology such as social media is effective for future jobs, or at least answer both. However, 20% of the interviewees did not answer in the affirmative that social media was helpful. Interviewees were most divided on this question. Some differences that emerged in the responses were notably different. One was from Major Benning, U.S. Marine Corps, stating that social media friends in the workplace was not appropriate. 94% agreed that adding supervisors and employees on social media were acceptable. Another abnormality was seen in question 5, where only 6% of one person thought that termination was an acceptable solution for handling workplace conflicts of interest. Lesson learned, takeaways, 75% of managers believe there is no conflict of interest to have crossover roles such as owners as managers. Employees under management do see a conflict of interest with these crossover roles. Both employees and managers want to clear, define roles and policies, open communication. As a team, we learned that in question 4, having a conflict of interest in the workplace was a scenario that was either never thought of or personally experienced a situation in which it affected the workplace negatively. Out of the 4 managers, 75% of them did not believe that there would be a conflict of interest in the workplace, while non-managers believed that there is a higher likelihood of conflict of interest in the workplace. This data concludes that the non-management employees see workplace relationship affecting the job more than a manager. A common theme throughout was that respondents all want management to lead by example and set the expectations. They also want clearly defined roles and policies to avoid conflict. These are all driving factors in motivation. According to Hertzberg, two-factor theory, they are hygiene factors and motivator factors. Motivator factors include challenging and stimulating work, responsibility, and opportunity for advancement. By having clearly defined roles and policies at work, people are able to use those to know what is expected of them to succeed at work. With these in place, Hertzberg's theory says that there are more highly motivated, highly satisfied, and have strong commitment. Likewise, under hygiene factors, we find job security, company policy and administration, and quality supervision, which leads to general satisfaction and prevention of dissatisfaction. So now I'm going to pass it on to Valerie Lopez.
Hello, this is Valerie. After reviewing all of our interviewees' data, we have a few recommendations. Starting off with develop better communication about perceived conflicts of interest with employees and managers and work to proactively prevent it. Clearly define roles and policies between management and employees. Establish clear policies regarding employees' use of social media with coworkers and the business name. Finally, keep open and clear communication channels. This new knowledge can be applied in many ways. The best way we can apply issues with conflict of interest in the workplace is to educate everyone, manager and employees, about what unfair conflict of interest looks like and how to go about minimizing and reporting it when it is observed. Companies can also ensure that the position or roles, as well as policies, are clearly defined in advance to prevent conflict. By teaching others the proper channels to go through, it can help keep the workplace productive as well as setting lines that should not be crossed. Companies should have rules in place in advance regarding use of the business name on social media and potentially consequences for disregarding or breaking rules. Management and employees should conduct themselves in a professional manner at all times, as they are representation of the organization. Characteristics of good leader include drive, desire to lead, integrity, self-confidence, cognitive ability, knowledge of domain, openness to new experiences, and extroversions. The response received indicate that employees want many of these characteristics in managers, particularly integrity, to lead by example, and cognitive ability to be able to communicate clearly. Employees should have multiple methods and channels to communicate open to them so that they feel free to bring up potential issues and believe they will be heard. As we concluded, most respondents are divided on the use of social media as it has both pros and cons. Managers do not see a conflict of interest in crossover roles, whereas employees do see conflict of interest in crossover roles. Most respondents want clear open communication, and defined policies. Most respondents want management to set the example for what is expected, including ethically. Decision-making comes with ethical choices. When a manager or employee decides to correlate social media into the workplace, it is recommended by doing it with the right approach. Most of our interviewees found it to be both beneficial and harmful for the use of social media in the workplace. Regardless of which way a manager or employee may see it, defining roles and policies over the use of social media is important to communicate with staff. Managers we interviewed saw no concern for conflict of interest in crossover roles, but employees we interviewed disagreed with that. Managers are expected to set the example, bring a balance into the workplace, and influence employees by delivering an ethical leadership, including others through personal values, morals, and beliefs. This concludes our presentation for organizational behavior.